What up, people? It's your boy, Master Chudy, out here with another animated movie review. So, I just finished watching Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons, and I've got to say, its plot is simple, its story is quite short, but it encapsulates everything that was so good about Damien and John in Rebirth. What made Damien and John such a good duo? What made John such a likable character before Bendis and Tom Taylor got their hands on them and just ruined the character? So this is a pretty much a spoiler review. This was premiered at the New York Comic Con, and so I'll give my views on it. But simply short, pretty much it's a story about David and John coming together. Batman and Superman decide to bring them together. Damian has his issues with trying to join the Justice League. I mean, not Justice League, the Teen Titans, and John's just discovering his powers. And they have to get together and they have to fight a super powered Starro entity, of course. And, pretty much at the end of the day, they fight it, they defeat it, they both learn to come in on their own and basically become the Super Sons. And that's pretty much the plot. It's quite simple, nothing much to say. But I'll get into um, the good, which is, the characters, and what I found maybe was slightly bad, a little bit of nitpicks, and get to my final analysis. So we start off with the good. We start off with the characters. And let's basically start off with none other than, Jonathan Kent, voiced by Jacqueline Grazer, who I felt was a pretty good selection for the role. He definitely encapsulates a 10-year-old Jonathan Kent, even the 10-year-old Jonathan Kent. Um, I thought Jonathan was well written, well done. He really encapsulated the rebirth John Kent very well. I thought it was well done. I thought I thought I was reading something from Tomasi, basically something straight from Peter Tomasi. I thought that is what I was reading. And so credit to Jeremy Adams for writing this and understanding why John Kent is as beautiful as such a great character. Really appreciate and enjoy it as well. I liked how he progressed with his powers. He wasn't owning. He was definitely very, very rusty. And, thanks to teamwork and, learning life lessons from his parents, where, he worked as a character. So Jonathan was well done. I have nothing else to say. Damian Wayne, voiced by Jack Griffo. Now, for the longest time, we've always been used to Damian, Damian Wayne being voiced by, sorry, uh, Damian Wayne being voiced by Stuart Allen. For the longest time, Stuart Allen voiced him for almost, almost 10 years, basically. And through that, there's a certain level, there's a certain voice that we expect Damien to have, which is kind of royalty, elite. But here he sounds more like a, I don't want to say edge lord, but that's the vibe I got basically. I basically got from Damian Wade, but I liked Damian quite a lot in this film. I want to say I may have liked him a little bit more than Jonathan Kent. He's brash, he's violent, he's arrogant. Everything about Damian Wade that makes him Damian Wade, especially in the Rebirth issue. But what we do get to see is that I think Jack Griffer also, showcases his complexities about how he wants to join a team, how he wants to be accepted, how he wants to be liked. And even in one line in the movie where Batman says he wants to be good, I think, which is like clearly that Damian wants to be good. But, because of his behavior and inability to work with others, we see that basically, we basically see that he's not good with working with others. However, when he gets paired with John, we see him basically go ahead and basically loosen up, start thinking with his head, really mentors John, and I think that he basically has he definitely gives the older brother vibe, which is what Damien has always been to John, which is what I've always liked definitely as well from Damien. So Damien was another great character. Obviously, most of the fight scenes came with him. Yeah, very good choreography. I'll get to that later. So that's that. Batman, voiced by Troy Baker. Troy Baker's a veteran. Harp. We don't need to harp on his delivery because it's always elite. He did very well. Batman, of course, didn't have many roles, but Batman was Batman. But we get to Superman, voiced by Travis Willingham, who, in and of itself, is also married to Laura Bailey, who also voiced Lois Lane. So we can basically combine the two because I think one cannot go without the other. Um, both Clark and Lois in this one, it was really nice, seeing them act like parents. They did very good. They really showed that both of them harped to create a role of good for their son John. Superman really explaining to him, the importance of being a hero, the importance of basically, the sacrifice that you'll have to make, the importance that it's important I do these things to protect you and your mother, you know everything that makes Superman good, and his delivery of Superman's motto, truth, justice, and the American way, very nice, very fantastic. It felt very natural coming from coming from coming from Travis Willingham's Superman. It was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. Really liked it. However, Lois also plays a pretty important role as well, where she teaches her son about, hey, not everything requires a powers. Basically, reporting can be a good strength too to have, and this is how you break down a story. This is what you have to do. This is how you have to think. Really giving him that detective work, which I found to be pretty awesome as well. So you know, excellent work, I will say, no doubt for those two. They did a fine, fantastic job. Um, then we have Darren DePaul as Lex Luthor and Starro, and I felt he was a very good Lex Luthor for the limited amount of time he had, and then Starro was pretty good. He was not bad at all. So that's that. Tom Kenny was a surprise, not because he played Green Arrow, which didn't have a lot, but because he played Penguin briefly, and as you know, Tom Kenny was Penguin in the Batman. So it was a refreshing thing to hear his voice. Gino Robinson as Jimmy Olsen was okay. We'll get into that. Nora North was Jor-El, didn't have much to say, and then Mirna Velasquez Wonder Girl and Lara was pretty good, and was pretty good. So that's it for the characterization and the voice acting. The animation. Now, people have always had the issues with, like, I want to call it the Tron Uprising animation. Um, I didn't think it was that bad. Obviously, there are scenes where this type of animation doesn't necessarily work, but it wasn't clunky. It was pretty fluid. I will say I was surprised with the amount of blood that was in this thing. I didn't. These guys were actually bleeding. Um, People weren't holding their punches. People were coughing up blood. I'm like, dang. I have to say I was kind of shocked when I saw it, but it didn't take away. And I would say it added a little bit of edge to it. And there's also, in terms of the dialogue, a lot of cursing. I'm surprised. I don't know whether this was a PG-13, but if it was, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely a PG-13 film, basically. Not something that you'd expect from a Super Sons thing, but it all worked out. It's all for the best. Really appreciated that. A couple of the another tidbit that I really liked is that it seemed, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but it seemed to invoke a lot of the old DCAU, the old DC animated universe. Like like the beginning, I really got from the music. I really got, which is another good thing. I really like the music, but from the music, I also really enjoyed that it seems to like have borrowed from Superman the Animated Series, their intro theme. That's what I was thinking as well. The opening scene when they're sending Clark to this Earth from Krypton. almost looked entirely like it was from the animated series, which is something I really liked. In addition, the idea of the Super Sons crashing the Watchtower into the Earth to defeat Starro, much like what Batman and Superman did in the Justice League animated series to crash the Watchtower into the Thanagarian warp machine that they were building on the planet. I just feel like they really, really honored a lot of what came before, and they made a great movie. Now, two things that I may have not liked, and they're just nitpicks. One, like I said, the animation. There are times where the animation felt but it was pretty fluid. It was pretty good. And then, of course, basically, Jimmy Olsen. I just felt that they Jimmy was just an interesting, it was just interesting. It just gee Willikers, and I'm looking at a brother. I'm like, oh, I don't know whether he'd be saying like, oh golly, and all this. And I'm looking at a black man. I'm like, what? But that's neither here nor there. That's a nitpick. So it's not important. The film is great, but I will say this, which is something I'll put in my title. This movie showed that what happened and what has been done to Jonathan Kent in DC. First, thanks to Bendis. Second, thanks to Tom Taylor in all aspects, what they have done to Jonathan Kent after they aged him up and everything that's happened to him after has been a travesty. It has destroyed this character. And if there's any way to remind you of that, you just need to watch this movie. You just have to watch the Super Sons. This is Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Kent is a 10-year-old kid learning the ropes to become a hero. This is something that we can see him grow. And I'm looking at Jor-El talking nice to John as a program, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this man is going to end John's whole career if they decide to go with what happened with Bendis's run, which I hope they never do. Jonathan is a character that we all wanted to see grow, and I think a reason why a lot of people like this film, even though the plot may be simple, is that because it takes us back to when we were really excited about this character, how he was working with Kathy, the rapport they built, that type of thing like that. And the movie gets it because they are living on the farm, and oddly enough, they had the family leave the farm in the comics, which I think was a mistake, but here we see that they really care about what made this duo. How, as Jonathan improves as a character, Damian also improves as a character. And that's something that I really appreciate. And it's something that DC, prior to this film, was crazy to do. Crazy to age him up. Crazy to send him with the Legion of Superheroes. Crazy to make him Superman and the things that he's into and the things that he's getting himself involved in now. Not fighting people, just doing non-heroic things that can be done by normal people. He doesn't feel like he wants to be Superman or take over his father's legacy by the way that Bendis and Tom Taylor wrote him. But I feel that Jeremy Adams gets it. And I hope that DC decides to somehow find that Jonathan Kent is the 10-year-old Jonathan Kent is somewhere cryogenically frozen, kept prisoner in trouble, and that the current John Kent that we see now is an imposter. But that's pretty much it. My final verdict, I give this a good 7.5 out of 10. The plot is very, it's a simple plot, and the animation can be wonky. But at the end of the day, it's a good film. Its heart's in the right place. It has heart. It's good to see the Super Sons in an animated show movie. It's good to see them work together. And, it's just good to see this rapport back again and not get the usual one offs that DC likes to sprinkle in their comics to say, hey, remember the Super Sons? We do. Let's just give you this little thing. I mean, we could bring them back, but, maybe, but probably not. But anyway, thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications to make sure you're notified. Once again, I do these reviews for you, the people, because I want to discuss good films like this and get your views on them. Please, once again, like, share, and subscribe, and comment below to give me your opinions of this film. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope to have more videos up when I can. Peace.